Jason, great to see you again. Welcome back to Popternative.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me. It's nice to be in my room. But you'll see that door open in a minute. Hopefully with someone bringing me a pot of tea because I haven't slept for about 72 hours and I need some caffeine.
No, absolutely. It's an honor and privilege to speak with you again. It's interesting, right? Like, The White Lotus is one of my favorite shows, and season after season, and I'm wondering from a script to screen journey what that's like for you. But the irony of the show is so interesting to me, right? Especially with the characters that are going to vacation at the White Lotus to get away from their problems, and then it's nothing but problems that we see. What is that like, reading that kind of those elements in the script and seeing it come to life, so to speak? That script to screen journey.
Well, first of all, thank God they have problems because nobody buys a ticket to watch rich people have a lovely holiday. That's not a thing that anybody wants for their entertainment. And secondly, it doesn't really matter that it's White Lotus, that it's a hotel, that it's rich people, whatever the kind of current cultural themes are. Mike White is just a brilliant writer. Yeah. Well, everything he's done, from Enlightened was a brilliant series, and every indie film he's done. Some people know how to tell a story well. There's some people, we know what it's like. If you've got a friend and they could tell you about getting a parking ticket and you'd be gripped and entertained and moved and laughing and crying for 20 minutes, and someone else could tell you about being abducted by aliens and you're just checking your watch and desperate to get out of there. Some people are magnificent storytellers. How he manages to do this thing of having 6 or 7 different strands, in this instance, in Thailand, delve into all those spiritual questions of what is identity, both entertain you, and in this one, certainly much more profoundly, move you and challenge you, and certainly challenge your preconceptions about these characters. I have no idea. But a very good friend of mine who's a writer said anybody can write a duologue for 2 people. Try and write a scene with 5 people. Try and write a scene with 6 groups of 5 people over the course of 8 weeks that keeps everybody, the whole country, the whole world talking about it, and then delivers the final punch. Is so rare. So I don't know what it is, but there's 2 words, Mike White, that's at the heart of it.
School Rock is my favorite film of all time, and he wrote that one. I say it all the time. I know. One of my favorite characters in the season 3 of The White Lotus is, Jason?
I'm hoping you're going to say me, but let's put me aside. But also, it's going to be someone else.
Your character's cell phone is one of my favorite characters. No, but I'm wondering if you think about that, because it's interesting, right? Because the unraveling of your character, starts with these voicemails because he doesn't have his phone, and then he tries to get his phone. Do you think about that at all? Am I on to something about your cell phone?
Well, I do think about that because I'm much older than you, so I remember the era before cell phones, and then these magical machines were supposedly going to come along and free up our lives so that we had time to do all those things. I don't know, learn instruments, write poetry. I don't know what we imagined would happen with the free time, but it certainly didn't happen. And this man, who frankly has, compared to everybody else in the world, he's not just the 1%, he's the 0.0001%. He's a titan of industry. He's a scion of this kind of generational wealth. He, because he works in the world of finance, is tied by the microsecond to what the world's finances are doing. So even those people who have everything are still slaves to these devices. Yeah, I do think about it, yeah. Because I'm like that myself.
Oh, absolutely. The episodes are rolling out on HBO week after week, and there is this kind of unraveling.
And on Max, don't forget Max, because I wondered how it is that everybody I met had watched, and I thought, well, everybody doesn't have HBO.
Yep. And I was HBO and Max as well.
Yeah, in the early hours of the morning, some guy came out of a doorway. I thought he was homeless. It turns out apparently not, because he went, "Hey, you're the Lotus guy. Your family's fucked, my friend." I said, I guess no, I know that. He said, you're in shit, man. You got shit coming. I said, yes, that's so true.
Well, your character does go through a lot of craziness, and he's protecting his family, but also doesn't know what to do. So he, takes some pills, right?
No, that's true. But what I was asking is, how many people are watching it in this country of 360 million people, whatever it is? Yeah. Because far more than I would have assumed, because I thought it was on premium cable, but it turns out more people.
It's one of the biggest. It's one of the biggest shows on the planet, and you're so good. As soon as we meet your character, we're like, I want to know more about this guy, what's going on, and then we see. But my question: did it feel like playing 2 different characters at times when he's trying to take the pills, so to speak? Because his demeanor completely changes.
What it felt was, what all actors ever want is a secret. That's all you ever want to play. Because then you can do one thing and be meaning and thinking another. Mm-hmm. And the holy trifecta, which happens rarely, is you say one thing, you're actually thinking another, but you're really driven by a third force that you don't understand about yourself, but the audience are getting. And that's what Mike's given me, except he hasn't given me any words to do it with. And so I didn't feel like it was 2 characters. I felt like most of us, he has a front for the world, but he was pretty at ease with himself when he gets there. In the front, he didn't have any deep, dark, burning secrets or guilt or fear. He didn't have anxiety. Why should he? He's one of the most entitled people alive. And then suddenly, their entire world is not just collapsing, it seems to have gone. It
Yeah,
looks like when they get back on the boat at the end of the week, none of these people, none of what they're talking about will be real. They won't have a house. They won't have a car. They won't be able to afford a cell phone plan. They'll all go to be out on the streets. And he's trying to process what that is. And of course, not only does he hide that, but Mike White puts me through the kind of crisis that people go to Thailand supposedly to face, but they want a slightly more commercial version, which is, who am I if I'm nothing?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So it didn't feel like two people. It felt like the collapse and the being confronted with the most essential questions in life.
Absolutely. And super quick before we wrap up, we are going to get, like, the best thing about the White Lotus is such a big world and it expands all the time. We are going to get a season 4 of White Lotus at some point. There's rumors about being kind of like a colder, area. You know what I mean? Is there a place that you, as like a fan of the show, would love to see the White Lotus on top of your head? Do you think about that at all?
Any of my thoughts about what he should write next are ludicrous because he's so much smarter and more interesting, more creative, more surprising than me. In my wildest dreams, it would be somewhere in northwest London, so that if I'm not in it, I can go and visit the set without taking a car. But I'm not sure it's going to happen that way.
Absolutely. But again, it was not our privilege to speak with you. You do such an amazing job in the show. I can't wait to see the conclusion of the White Lotus.
He really brings it home. I can tell you this, Mike White. If like Hitchcock said, the most important part of any film is three parts. Three most important parts are the ending, and the ending. I screwed that quite up, didn't I? Mike brings it home.
Absolutely. Episodes on HBO and on Max. They could check that out. Jason, it's an honor and privilege to speak with you again. Thank you so much for some time.
I hope people watch your films. You're making films. Everybody watching this. Pete's making films. Make sure you go and see them.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.